Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Macmillan, and today I'm trying to take current affairs with regards to the security breach around what happened with the assassination attempt on Donald Trump and use it to try and bring across some scientific concepts about mucosal immunity. I think the whole world held its breath at the time when he came so close to a very, very serious life or death situation, but there is so much more that we can reflect on and take away from understanding science in the context of very serious issues. And so, what I'll be doing here is tying together some of the details about the security or the borders of the security, the perimeter security. I'm not an expert in that, but I'll be tying it to the concept of mucosal immunity. I hope that you find this valuable and of use in the future with how to think about what may be happening in terms of COVID. Before I start, as usual, and you'll realize why this is so important, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. It's on the landing page. You'll also get a free ebook. The subscribe button is usually right here on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe. Additionally, in another day, I will be doing the COVID storm. Join me. This is a very important presentation. I'm trying to predict what is going to happen next, how it will present, and the relevance to you and loved ones. So it's a new COVID storm. Recognize it or risk the consequences, all tied into spike triggered autoimmune response mechanism. So this is I'm not sure what happened there. And so, yes, we'll get back to this question here about the storm and the importance of it. Maybe what I'm talking about is a little bit too controversial. I wonder, because this is an important topic. Luckily, I was able to get back on quite quickly. But I'm not trying to make any criticisms here. So I don't want anybody to be too concerned about what I'm saying because it's not actually going to be controversial. It's just tied to the concept of mucosal immunity. So let's get into the basics. The first point is that, as we said, I'm going to show you a map that will show you where this was occurring. And then I'm going to take you through the steps around mucosal immunity or the security, and then how it links to mucosal immunity. For those people who weren't aware, what we had here, and I've brought it up here on Google Maps, this is an image showing that whole region. So you can see in the center, there is Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is right here. And then there's Cleveland, Detroit. These are the Great Lakes up here. And then down in the middle down here is where Butler is located. So I'm going to zoom in on that. And you can see as we zoom in, you can see Butler over here. So that's the town of Butler right here. That's where the event, the rally was happening in Pennsylvania. So I'll be coming to how that fits and I'll be taking a closer look at it. So this is effectively what that area looks like. And so I've got here, it's the Butler farm. They have farm shows there, and this was just an open area where you could have a rally. So this is what it looked like here. So it's this area here. This was where the rally was held, and I'll show you a little bit more detail in a minute. But in the context of perimeter security, I'll be showing what I think would be relevant in terms of securing a perimeter in order to make sure the person in the middle here is actually safe. And so when we take a closer look at what happened with regards to the shooter, and I've got this map from CBS News, so I thank them for the map from CBS News, and they have shown down here an image as to what this looks like. And so they were showing here a breakdown of there are three buildings here, The stage is right here, and this is where Trump was on the stage, and the gunman was over here at approximately 410 feet. And you had two snipers here, but I think there was a tree in the middle that was interfering with their vision. So the question is about how did he get this close to Trump? I'll not get into the conspiracies, but I'll tell you more about the relevance in terms of what I think in terms of mucosal immunity. And I'm going to show you a slide, and then I'm going to come back to those images so that you can see it. So this slide here, bring it up in a second, is just demonstrating the principle of mucosal immunity. And this is a slide I use all the time. And so you can see here that this is a virus, a COVID virus, or any virus coming in. It affects the upper airway here, and it could then, once it's infected there, spread down into the lungs. But very often, the immune system is able to deal with the infection here. And there's a very powerful barrier which prevents the virus from breaking through this mucosal immunity to get into the systemic circulation. So, what I've demonstrated here are lymph nodes, these are antibodies here. And if the virus can penetrate this, then it can get into the bloodstream and cause what we call a viremia. And this mucosal immunity is very sophisticated. So this is where the virus would be. This is the airway. It has to penetrate the mucus layer. It would then have to infect the cells. It would then have to get through the submucosal layer, and beyond it is a very tight immune defense. And this is the what I would consider part of the outer perimeter. These are the security people on the outside, and the physical layer here are the security people right around where the president would be. So this is the mucosal layer, so to speak, trying to protect against what is happening. So the perimeter is therefore really, really important in the context of trying to understand what was happening. So when we go back to the maps, and I'll show you this here, this is again, as I said, the farm area. So in my view, I'll try and see if I can draw it. If you imagine this is a main road here, so this region here around the where you have the showground, so this whole region and probably extending even beyond that to out here should have been very important for the security services, because in reality, when we look at it now on the map, therefore Trump was right in this vicinity here, and the shooter was right about there. So when we look at this security picture, the big question everybody is asking, quite rightly, is how did he get through this outer security into this area in such close proximity to the former president to be able to take a shot? And this is where we have that serious risk. And in my view, it means that the mucosal immunity here has been penetrated. So this is what I would consider to be weak mucosal immunity, because this mucosal immunity should never allow a virus, so to speak, or any pathogen to get anywhere close to what is relevant in the context of the human body. You're trying to protect, say, the brain, the heart, and so on. So breaking through this mucosal barrier puts the whole body at risk. And so, therefore, protecting this mucosal barrier, making sure that it is very healthy, is more important than just having snipers on the roof. So, this is where one of the snipers were here, another one was here. I don't know if they would have had some extra security down here. They should have had security out here as well. But the point is that I would consider this to be systemic immunity. That means that your immune system here is fighting against a problem that is within it. I would therefore consider this person as being within the bloodstream. You're trying to protect against something that has already penetrated the critical mucosal barrier on the outside. And this is how I describe or think about it in terms of COVID. is that what we have is supposed to be a very important mucosal system. That mucosal defense that we have, that mucosal defense is supposed to protect against virus getting beyond here. So, in a sense, all of this would represent the outer layer. Nothing should penetrate this. And if you got beyond this, the systemic immunity would therefore kick in. And protecting this is most important. And so this is part of the problem we've had with vaccines, is that vaccines actually don't strengthen effectively the mucosal layer. So having the vaccine is kind of like putting lots of security in the grounds and having wide open perimeter where you have the risk of virus getting in. And that's a really important point. And I just wanted to show you again on the map. Let's just look at it again. So what I would be saying here is that mucosal immunity, as I pointed out, would focus on the outside of the area. Let me just zoom in a little bit more so it's a bit clearer. So the outside area here is the mucosal immunity. And so in my view, what you want to do is strengthen this region so that nothing can get through. What we have done in effect with the vaccines is that what we've concentrated on is that instead of, and I'll do it again, instead of putting in a strong perimeter, we have then put in lots of security agents in and around in replacement for having a very strong perimeter. But what it would mean is that you would have to be extra vigilant to try and protect what is in the center here from being targeted by, say, a virus or a bacteria. And this is the concept that I think is important to take across. Systemic immunity is on the inside, it's still important, but absolutely critical is the protection from the outside so nothing can get through. And I think that you'll see from the security point of view nowadays, this is far tighter. And so, therefore, even though this is still in place, it is far more effective security overall. And that's essentially, I think, the point that I'd want to make with regards to this is that mucosal immunity, from a scientific point of view, that's in the upper airway. It will protect you from getting the infection or dealing with the infection quickly, and therefore protect you from getting virus into the bloodstream, which could then get close to the brain. One other slide I wanted to highlight, and it's the concern I have, and it would represent the building, is the sphenoid sinus, because Omicron tends to have a predilection for the sinuses. And if you look at where this one is located, right in the center of the skull, what it means is that if you got virus infection here, its access to the brain is very close. The brain is literally just beyond there. That would represent to me a very high security risk. This is why I encourage people to strengthen this region. And the way you strengthen it is through nitric oxide. Increasing the nitric oxide in these sinuses will protect against viral infection because it's antiviral, it's antibacterial, and it will ensure that you can't get virus replicating right at the center. This is one of the reasons why I think we're seeing far more neurological complications with Omicron, because this sinus, specifically the sphenoid sinus, is being infected with regards to bacteria. So, my hope is that by getting people to understand the importance of humming, increasing the nitric oxide, protecting the brain, simple mechanism. If you want to understand the science, just subscribe to the newsletter and join us in this scientific journey. Hope that this is valuable for you and that this concept of tying mucosal immunity to perimeter security makes sense. Have a great evening.